Hey, welcome back to Monday. It is Carnell Knowledge. My name is Tom Carnell. I'm here with today's update on some movies, books, and music. If you don't know who I am, I was a buyer for Tower Records for many years. I published and wrote most of a dark art publication called Carpe Noctem. I wrote for Fangoria and Dread Central for about 2 decades, and I'm now an author. You can go to Amazon and check out my Amazon page for all of the stuff that we're doing there. Be sure to watch this video to the end because it helps with my algorithm. And I want to say that I've started to include a lot more information down in the description for this video. It'll help you be able to find this stuff and not only hear it but watch it, and for the books you can always pick them up on Amazon, but the links are down there. We're going to start with some movies. I do have some notes, so that's just to keep me honest. We're going to start with a movie from 1972. It's called Non si SEVIZIA un PAPERINO, aka Don't Torture a Duckling. It's directed by Lucio Fulci and stars Florinda Balkan, Barbara Boucher, Thomas Milan, and the great singer Irene Pappas. It has to do with a southern Italian town that is rocked by a string of child murders. The police and 2 urban outcasts search for the culprit amid scapegoating within a superstitious community. Fulci said this was his most personal film, which is saying something. If you happen to see it, you'll see what I'm talking about. Music in the film was done by the great Riz Ortolani, who did a lot of Italian film scores. The film was criticized by the Catholic Church and was therefore blacklisted at one point, receiving limited European release, and was never available in the US until Anchor Bay released it in 2000. It's the first film of Fulci's that showcased what we're going to call gore effects. There's a great whipping scene in it that is later used to really solid effect in the movie The Beyond, another Fulci film. It's an enjoyable, albeit a little meandering film. The plot kind of zigs and zags. I think it's a fine pseudo-giallo / murder thriller. And everyone's great. The cast is great. The direction is solid. This is Fulci moving from the typical Italian product, like the westerns and the sex comedies and all this kind of thing, and now he's finding his footing as what would later earn him the nom de plume of the Godfather of gore. Next up, 1980, we're going to go with a film called Apocalypse Domini, aka Cannibals in the Streets, aka Invasion of the Flesh Eaters, but mostly known as a film called Cannibal Apocalypse. Directed by Antonio Magaretti, who did things like Castle Blood, 7 Deaths in a Cat's Eye. It stars John Saxon, Elizabeth Turner, and someone who we've discussed many times on this show, Giovanni Lombardo Radici. It's written by Dardano Sacchetti, who wrote The Beyond. He wrote Lamberto Bava's Demons, and he wrote there's a great giallo that he wrote called A Blade in the Dark. It's about a pair of Vietnam War POWs that return to America carrying a virus that turns people into cannibals if they're bitten. Kind of similar to David Cronenberg's Rabid, if that rings any bells. Saxon accepted the role after reading a poorly translated script. And it wasn't until he got on the set that it was like, oh, we're going to have you be a cannibal and eat people. The film was declared a video nasty in the UK. It's like a zombie film in a lot of respects. One review said, imagine Rambo meets Cobra, but with cannibals. It's gritty, it's grimy, it's a mix of war film, 70s era crime drama, and what I call a third world cannibal film. It's sleazy. There's no getting around that. It's sleazy, but it's fun. Again, Cannibal Apocalypse. check it out. In a total tonal shift, we're going next with the 1956 film called The Searchers, directed by John Ford, stars John Wayne, Jeffrey Hunter, and Natalie Wood. It's about an American Civil War veteran who embarks on a years-long journey to rescue his niece from the Comanches after the rest of his brother's family is massacred in a raid on their Texas town. This is a landmark Western. In my later years now, I'm becoming more and more of a fan of not only Western cinema, but also Western literature. And this one is amongst the best. David Lean watched this film prior to making Lawrence of Arabia to get the idea of scope, because this film has plenty of scope. Spielberg, Scorsese, George Lucas, Jean-Luc Godard, John Milius, and Paul Schrader all regard this as one of the films that they were influenced by. It's based on a 1954 Alan LeMay book of the same name. It's a classic Western, a great film, and it's kind of a Western for people who don't think they like Westerns. I'm not a John Wayne fan by any stretch, but he's actually pretty terrific in this. It's wide. It's shot really, really wide and has just some fantastic moments. I strongly recommend, if you're a fan of cinema and you haven't seen The Searchers, you need to change that. Up next, 1972. Because I was just reading Jim Thompson's original novel, The Getaway, I went back and watched the 1972 version of the film with Steve McQueen, Ali McGraw, directed by Sam Peckinpah. It's about a recently released ex-con and his wife who go on the run after a heist goes awry. It's very different than the book. The book has a whole third act that McQueen thought was depressing, so they just lopped it off. It kind of ends, spoiler, it kind of ends with them getting away, hence the title. But the book is very, very different. It ends more on a downbeat. It is more depressing. It says more about the folly of crime than the movie does. McQueen, they had hired Jim Thompson to write the script. McQueen didn't like the ending, so he replaced him with Walter Hill. McQueen had final cut on the film, which really irritated Peckinpah, but Walter Hill says that this was the favorite of the films that he had written. McGraw and McQueen have a chemistry, even though they're kind of miscast after having read the book. They're not nearly as slick and kind of cool in the book. They're more just like criminals. It's violent. The film is definitely violent, but when you see Sam Peckinpah as a director, you're going to get some violence. It's worth seeing, where I think the Alec Baldwin, Kim Basinger film is not. But read the book. The book is much, much better than both of them. Let's see. Last one. 1975. It's a film by, speaking of Walter Hill, directed by Walter Hill. It's called Hard Times. It stars Charles Bronson, James Coburn, Jill Ireland, and Strother Martin. Has to do with Depression era, like a kind of New Orleans area. A kind of a huckster played by James Coburn hooks up with this guy who's just a slugger. He's a boxer. You get the impression he's done some time, and that's played by Charles Bronson. The film is, again, it's gritty, it's violent. There's a lot of cool fights in it, and the fights seem real. They're not pretty. This isn't a martial arts film. It's just people slugging it out, and it's portrayed really, really well. Jan Michael Vincent was originally cast in the role of Cheney, which ultimately went to Charles Bronson, and that would have been a big mistake. Bronson did all of his own stunts. The settings of the Capcom game Street Fighter are for the most part based on this film. Everything from the waterfront to the warehouse to all of these things. It's a fantastic action film and a period piece. It's an even better character study. Bronson is suitably stoic and Coburn is enigmatic. I saw this back when it first came out I was a teen, and it was the B picture. We saw it at a drive-in. It was the B picture to Jaws, and now I'll give you sort of a context there. Hill was pretty vocal about his lack of faith in and being unimpressed with Jill Ireland, who admittedly is a little weak in the film, but it really, at the time, Bronson was married to her, so Bronson never worked with them again, and was very cool and cold to them during the years just post the release of this film. It's great. I highly recommend it. It's got a real vibe to it. So yeah, Hard Times. It's a great film. Check it out. Moving on to books. We're going to start with a book from 2024. It's called Earth to Moon, and it's written by Moon Unit Zappa, who is the daughter of Frank Zappa. She's the voice in the Valley Girl single. It's a frank look at growing up Zappa. It's not particularly complimentary to Frank or his wife Gail, but it is a pretty interesting look behind the curtain. She talks a lot about growing up in Laurel Canyon, about the people that would come to the house and visit her dad, about how her dad was always in the basement, working, and they knew better than to go down there and interrupt him. Again, it's not overly complimentary. A lot of the history between her and Valley Girl came about not as I want to be a singer, but more like I just want to spend time with my dad, and then ultimately the press tour and all that stuff gave her that opportunity. It's a great book, very, very enjoyable, and it's highly recommended. After that, 1924, everyone knows H.P. Lovecraft and things like Herbert West Reanimator and all the Cthulhu stuff. Well, he did a novella called The Loved Dead that it is hard to believe that it was published in 1924. The story is pretty graphic, has to do with necrophilia, and I was shocked when I read it, and I kept having to go, really, 24? Because this isn't Herbert West Reanimator. It's more like H.P. Lovecraft's Necromantic, if you're familiar with the Jorg Buttgereit film. It's well worth reading. You can get it on Kindle for like 99 cents. If you're a fan of Lovecraft, or if you're a fan of that era, pulp fiction, it's a must read, just because it's so surprising in its portrayal of what happens there. Moving on, 2025. I just got this from the library via the Libby app, which I highly recommend. John Fugelsang, who's a stand-up comedian and commentator, you see him all the time on the Talking Head shows. He did a book called The Separation of Church and Hate. This is not fiction, it's more nonfiction. This is the book to read if, one, you are beginning to question your faith, or two, if you want some ammo for your Bible-thumping relative at Thanksgiving. This pretty much, it doesn't take apart Christianity, but it takes apart a lot of talking points that allow certain things. It's really good. I kept wanting to slow down and read it so I could commit some of the things to memory. But it's great. And again, you can get it out there. It's probably at your Barnes & Noble or at Amazon. I forget what I paid for it on Kindle, but well worth reading, especially if you have an interest in that kind of thing. Let's see. 1984, Bill Pronzini and Martin H. Greenberg released this. It's a short story collection. It's a collection of westerns. It's a fun, albeit varied collection of tales from the Old West. As usual, things like this, it's a little of this, a little of that. 6 of these, half dozen of the other. Some of the stories are really, really good. Some of the stories aren't. But it's got a lot of people in here like O. Henry and Max Brand and Hall Thompson and Clay Fisher. What I liked in here, I really liked, and what I didn't like, I was kind of nonplussed over. So check that out. I finished the Getaway, and I've just started reading an author by the name of Jack Ketchum. He has, I picked up 3 short story collection. The first one I'm reading is from 2003. It's called Peaceable Kingdom. I love Jack Ketchum. If you've seen the movie The Girl Next Door or the movie Red, he wrote both of those. His book Open Season is like a visceral, like deliverance kind of tale. He's a great writer. He was a great guy. And I am enjoying the heck out of this. I love his style. I love his voice. I'm really looking forward to not only reading Peaceable Kingdom, but I also have 2 more that are in the queue waiting to be read. And I'm sure I'll get to telling you about those at some point. Moving on to records. The first record is by a guy, it's actually 3 records. I'm kind of cheating. The artist's name is Ahmed Malek. The first record is called MUSIQUE Originale de Films, HABIBI Funk 003. It's part of a series. The second record is called The Electronic Tapes, HABIBI Funk 005. And the last one is called MUSIQUE Originale de Films, HABIBI Funk 027. They're ethnic Egyptian music mixed with sort of modern day vibe music. The performances are great. The songwriting is great. It's fun. It's very groove based. It reminded me of things like 70s film music, the Ethiopian artist Muladu Astatke, if we're familiar with them, and a band that's really tearing up a lot of college radio stations now called Glass Beams, which I also highly recommend. In the description below is a link to all 3 of them, so that you can go and check them out and see if it might be something you'd be interested in. After that, brand new record came out last week, Jill Scott. It's called To Whom This May Concern. This is a woefully underappreciated artist. Her tone is very throaty and capital letters soulful. It's just fantastic. It reminded me a lot of things like Ari Lennox, Richard Glasper, D'Angelo, and it really reminded me, which I'm sure she'd be kind of miffed at, but of Erykah Badu. It's a great record. I don't know what to say other than that. Check it out down from the link down below. It is absolutely fantastic. I really, really enjoyed this and put it on repeat for a couple of times, which is, I don't do a lot of, but there you go. After that, I have a record, and I'm cheating again, 2 records. Both are by a group called Moon Ate the Dark. There's a self-titled record from 2012, and then there's one called 2, just the Roman symbol 2 from 2015. This is introspective and piano-based contemporary classical music. It's perfect for late night, or just like you want some music on, but you don't want to have it be too frenetic. This is just lovely, lovely stuff. It reminded me of certain film scores. And if you remember back in the 80s, there was a lot of to-do about a pianist named George Winston and Wyndham Hill. Kind of that vibe. I really enjoyed this record. I didn't know anything about it. I even forget how it came across my desk. But it's fantastic. Both of them are fantastic. Highly recommended. And you can check them out again down below. Next up, artist's name is Klaus Wiese, W-I-E-S-E. The record is called Perfume. It's from 2006. It's an ambient soundscape record, very lush, recorded, very evocative. It reminded me of things like Vangelis, Larry Fast and Synergy, John Serry, Michael Stearns, Paul Horn. This is music that is perfect for like the morning. You put it on in the morning and the world is beautiful, and it is beautiful. And just great. Again, I don't remember how I found this. I do a lot of looking at for records. I pay attention when Spotify says records you may like, or I pay attention when people tell me about something that they heard that they really liked. I keep a pad of paper in my pocket. I write them all down, and then I go check them out for myself. And that's advice I'd give you as well. Let's see. And then finally, this just came out on Friday as well. The artist's name is Momoko Gill. The record is called Momoko. This is kind of jazz, but still chill, very modern in its presentation. It's a perfect for like a dinner time, or just like chilling out on the couch and just vibing out. She's really interesting. I want to go back and check out, she's got a couple of other records, and it's on my list to go and check those out as well. It reminded me of people like Matthew Herbert and another band that is tearing up college radio stations, a band called Sholto. Fantastic, very much of a certain mood. And if you like that mood, you're going to love this record. And that's going to do that for me. I kind of buzzed through a lot of stuff. Hope you wrote it all down. If not, go in the description. I've got a full outline of everything that I've talked about. I've been going through, to wind these up, I've been going through a sort of detailing of my books. Today's book is called Tuxedo Junction. I shot the cover. I've designed the book. I've designed everything. I wrote everything inside it. It's got some different things coming for me. There's some sci-fi in there that I don't usually do. There's a play on Dawn of the Dead in there. I focus on the one-legged priest that they meet in the basement, if you are familiar with that. There's a Father Thorpe story in here. There's a Christmas story in here that I try to do once a year. And there you go. Tuxedo Junction, pick it up, ask for it by name. You can find it on Amazon, or if not, email me at tomcarnell@gmail.com and I will get it to you. That's going to do it. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share as much as possible. I could really use the help with the algorithm. I'm battling some real monsters out there that are just kicking my butt as far as numbers go, and I want to get this out to as many people as possible. So that's going to do it. I hope you have a good Monday and a good Tuesday. I will be back on Wednesday with another whole lineup of stuff, and then I will come back again on Friday. So other than that, have a good week.